So, I'm going to be talking about the moment I decided to stop shrinking and playing small, and I started to walk in who I am authentically and boldly. Now, I share a lot about this topic, and I think that it's very important, especially on platforms like LinkedIn, where oftentimes I found myself trying to fit in, trying to conform, trying to look the part, right? But what was missing was the authenticity. What was missing was what I'm really supposed to bring to the conversation, to the table. And so it just took me stepping back for a while and realizing the authenticity is my key, right? The authenticity is the thing that I need to propel me forward. It's the thing that you need to get you from whatever rut you've been in to the place you want to be. But getting there is really and truly a challenge for some of us. And so, I had a lot of moments leading up to when I decided that shrinking just wasn't an option for me anymore, right? And it wasn't easy, but there was a time when I would walk into rooms, I would speak, I would talk, I would be friendly, I would vibe, but I would still second guess my voice. I would second guess what I was supposed to be doing there, maybe even talking to someone, networking opportunities. And it was all just because I was playing this internal script about my failures instead of leading from a place of where I was, who I was in that moment, who I was called to be, and learning that failures were what were going to create some of my opportunities, right? Because we fail forward. Think about it. If you never fail, that means you're not trying. But if you try, you have more of a chance to land whatever the opportunity is that you're seeking. Speaking engagement, jobs, like I said, because we're on LinkedIn, whatever it is, if you don't try in the first place, you'll never, ever get to it anyway. So I wasn't realizing that the failure was the proof that I was trying, right? And so I had to change my narrative, my internal voice. I had to change how I saw failure. I had to change even what I allowed other people to tell me my failures were, which was key, right? Because I realized a lot of my internal chatter, a lot of the things that were holding me back in previous seasons was definitely stemming from things that had been spoken over me, things that I needed to just not over internalize because people are, entitled to their opinions, but their opinion of you does not have to become your opinion of you. You have to be true to you. You have to know who you are, right? And so I got there and I started thinking about stories that I had always resonated with, stories of leadership, of boldness. And one of my favorite stories was the story of Queen Sheba. And this story was just awesome. Queen Sheba showed up authentically. She questioned, she didn't hesitate. The way she even showed up was her full bold self. She did not shrink. She did not play small because she was trying to meet with someone who was in a high position, because she herself understood that she was in a high position. So she didn't have to shrink down, make herself, less than so that the other person didn't feel intimidated. No, Queen Sheba showed up as herself and she went to meet with a king, but she showed up in all of her glory and all of her queenness. And just, I always love this story. But one day I was preparing to speak. I did an engagement where I shared the stage with Kim Fields. It was a great women's empowerment, rediscovery, reignite her. It was a really, really great speaking opportunity. And as I was preparing for this opportunity, I was taking bits of my own story and I was thinking, how would this resonate with an audience? And I just happened to be studying the Queen of Sheba that whole year. So I spent a whole year just studying this queen, just reading this story and just getting really intimate with who she was, right? And so I started realizing things about her, but it was her quest. It was her seek and her quest for understanding and knowledge. Now, in that story, I pulled out the fact that Queen Sheba lived thousands of years ago. And of course, this was before Google and AI and different things that we can just whip out, right? And just ask questions to and get immediate answers. She was thinking just like we think now. She wanted answers. She wanted to resolve something that she had been contemplating, or several somethings, right? Because it seemed like she had a lot of questions. And to get her answers, there was nowhere she wouldn't go. There wasn't anything she wouldn't do. She sought out King Solomon, who was known for his wisdom. But the way she sought him out was unapologetic. And when I tell you, I just kept thinking about that. I kept thinking to myself, how women are often told to shrink back, don't be too bold, don't be too loud, don't be too much. And there are times and places for everything, of course, but who you are, your boldness, your beauty, whatever it is about you, your quest for knowledge, your intellect is a big one. You may be brilliant, your mind may be brilliant. Do not shrink down. Do not back off who you are. Do not start showing up as less than who you are, right? And I started thinking in terms of how even back then, thousands of years ago. Now I know if today women face glass ceilings and all kind of obstacles in being ourselves, I can just imagine, right, during Queen Sheba's day, what that would have looked like. Even though she was a queen, right, I can just imagine how that came off, how people maybe thought, well, you shouldn't go ask Solomon all those questions. Well, who are you? Well, you're not in a place that you should be in. Why are you asking them so much? She asked him so much because she can. She asked him what she wanted to know. She sought out answers because that's what she desired, and she wouldn't take no for an answer. She wouldn't let anyone deter her. And so I kept studying this story because I was looking at it through the lens of how I had to seek out finding and reconnecting to my birth family. I had to seek, and I used Google, I used the internet, I used any kind of tool that I had, but I just connected it back to her story, right? And so she didn't ask for permission. She didn't apologize for her boldness, for her curiosity. She showed up. She was herself. She brought, well, the Bible describes it as she had like a whole crew with her, right? She brought all these gifts. It was gold, it was spices. It was just an elaborate display of her bold, beautiful, unapologetic, answer-seeking self, and I loved it, right? She didn't apologize for it. She didn't ask permission, and she was rewarded. She showed up as herself, only herself, and King Solomon sat with her and answered all of her questions. He didn't see the problem. Often we're listening to people who may not have the answers to what we need in the first place. Like this little person over here telling you to shrink and not be yourself. That's not who you need to be speaking with anyway. They don't have what you need anyway, right? The person at the top has what you need. The person over here has what you need. And when you ask them, when you boldly come before them, when you show up as yourself, the person that you need the answer from, they're not going to see the problem. It's oftentimes small minded people who want you to shrink, and they'll tell you not to be yourself, right? Whole time, the person at the top was okay with you coming and asking your questions. And that's exactly what I loved about this story. Queen Sheba was herself, and she was rewarded above and beyond, to the point where the Bible says it took her breath away. What she saw, what she witnessed, it was such an elaborate display. So her curiosity, her seeking, her showing up as herself was met and reciprocated, right? And so I was like, wow, this is my story. That was my story for like a whole year. Like I actually talked about Queen Sheba in two different talks. I also did a keynote speech one time for a weekend that was hosted to raise charity. And I also used this story because that's just how much it resonated with me. And so I appreciate Queen Sheba's energy. She didn't apologize for being powerful. She didn't apologize for being curious, right? And I had to realize the same thing about myself. Don't apologize for being yourself, for being curious, for showing up, for asking questions, right? Shrinking doesn't serve anyone. You downplaying your questions, who you are, and what you bring to the table it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the people you're called to lead, to speak into, to coach, to mentor. It doesn't help whatever your job is. It's not helping, right? It's not just about what you say. So confidence is not just about what you say. It's about what you believe you have a right to say. Confidence is not just about what you say, it's about what you believe you have a right to say. And so confidence doesn't just show up, right, in speaking. Confidence is here. And I speak about this a lot. It's your internal thoughts that's going to lead to your actions, to you speaking, to you showing up how you need to show up. It's all starting here with your thoughts, right? And so you don't need to earn your space. You don't have to have permission to show up as yourself, to be bold, to be yourself. You don't have to earn it. You are the space. You just are who you are. And it's no apologies are needed, right? Listen, this story just opens up so much, I don't know, revelation for me. And I'm hoping that you can see the revelation for yourself. How are you shrinking in spaces that you're called to lead in? How are you allowing the opinions of other people to dictate how you show up? Are you allowing the opinions of other people to tell you to be quiet? Are you allowing the opinions of other people to tell you how you can and can't show up, who you can and cannot be, the questions you can and cannot ask, what you can create with your own imagination and hands? Are you allowing other people to tell you to play small? And if so, what is it that you think you need, right, to stop doing that? If this is resonating with you, I want you to drop no more shrinking in the comments. So no more shrinking or no shrinking. If this resonates with you, definitely drop that in the comments, right? Again, confidence is not just about what you say, it's about believing you have a right to say it, right? And so I know that for me, this all started in a place where over time, as you keep living, you have different setbacks. They can lead to you losing confidence and starting to play small. Different things that occur. So I talk a lot about how I was fired twice in the same year. That that chipped away at my confidence, right? Being fired twice, it was like I took a hit. And so the reason I share that so freely, the reason I share that is because that's a personal lesson that I had to walk through, right? And I had to just realize wasn't the end of the world. I had to realize, yes, I am, I'm fired. I've been fired twice. Yes, that's embarrassing. No, I didn't like it. But that season, what that led to for me was just beyond my wildest dreams. Yes, I was fired. I was fired twice, but it set me on the path that I needed to be on. I ended up getting my second bachelor's during that time. I ended up seeking out and reconnecting with my biological birth family during that time, who I had been separated from. At that point, I was 29, almost 30. So I had been separated from them my whole entire life. And so that time was sacred. That space was what I needed. But the day I got fired and the day I got fired again, I did not know any of that, right? It felt like the end of the world. And even though during that time I pieced together, my birth family, my identity, it still took years before I realized that being fired and listening to other people's comments about it and just feeling like downtrodden and feeling bad about myself was causing me to show up in a way where I was shrinking, where I was playing small, where I was not being authentically fully myself, was not stepping into opportunities that I wanted to speak, to coach, to write. It made my writing, made me shrink when I was writing. I started a blog and I was afraid to even blog. And I had to trace down what started this fear. And it all went back to when I was fired twice. Even though I accomplished those things, my confidence took a hit, right? And so I definitely want you to check out my free confidence quiz. It's free, you can explore where your confidence is, and it's you get to keep the results. So the quiz is free, but the results are yours to explore. And so confidence is something I talk about so much because it can take hits and it can be chipped away at over time to the point where you're not even realizing until later that something happened to cause you to shrink, something happened to cause you to doubt yourself. And now that's like playing out in a million other areas that you didn't even know, that this was playing out in. And so it's so important to me to share from that place, to share from a place of it. I was still accomplishing. I was still showing up and looking, okay. I was still in school, working on my second bachelor's degree. Um, but my confidence had still taken a hit. I was still shrinking back. I was still feeling less than my full self. I was still feeling like I didn't have permission to step boldly into who I was. Although on the outside, I was accomplishing. And I think I found this a lot with people. I was consulting a client this morning, somebody that is well accomplished, and they still needed help in this one area. Yes, they have these accomplishments, these certifications, these degrees, but in this other area, they may not be so confident. So confidence isn't just a one-time one size fits all solution, right? Where you may be confident in your ability. If you're a runner, you can run 5 miles very easy. It's nothing. Your confidence is there, right? But you may not be confident in boxing because you've never boxed. So you're athletic, you could learn, but your confidence isn't fully there. And so I'm using that as an example just to say you can be confident in one area. You can be well accomplished, but that doesn't mean that accomplishment and that confidence is just going to automatically go into all of these other areas. And so I just want to continue to come on here and just share from a place of growth and a place of some of the mistakes and some of the seasons that I've gone through, because my goal is to help you not continue to shrink back. My goal is to help others understand that who they are now is okay. You don't have to wait until you're all the way healed or all the way okay to start walking in your purpose, to start rebuilding your confidence, right? It's not just a one-time thing. You're not going to just be there and then your confidence is never shaken again, because we're human and we're having experiences in life, and those experiences do have possibilities, right, to shake our confidence. And so I'm definitely glad that you joined me for this short video today. If you are done shrinking, you tired of second guessing yourself, tired of playing small, I want you to put no more shrinking in the comments. And I definitely want you to check out my free confidence quiz, and you get to keep that. That's totally free. And that's just an exploration to show you where your confidence may be right now. And so I will see you on my next video. Take care.